Previously, we saw many events unfolding around our protagonist Van. First, he was thrown out of his house by his father because he possessed production-class magic. He was then appointed as the lord of a remote village where Van discovered that his production magic was actually overpowered. So he used it to completely renovate the village and remove its remote status. Once everything settled down, the count from a neighboring county sent his daughter to him with a marriage proposal. From the start, it was clear that the girl did not possess strong elemental magic like Van. So Van accepted her as a new resident of his village and gradually began to know her better. Not with marriage in mind, but as a friend. So let us see what kind of riff-raff appears next after this issue was resolved. Early morning Till and Kamseen arrived because something had happened near the lake. So Van put on his goody-two shoes and headed there, only to discover that a mermaid had appeared. Now, mermaids are extremely rare to encounter, and for some reason one showed up right there, can try to be friendly, and offered her some armored lizard meat. The girl quickly asked who defeated the creature, and everyone pointed at Van. The mermaid then left, and everyone assumed they would never see her again. However, the next morning, she returned with a massive surprise. She brought her entire clan. Her father, Ladavesta, he offered his daughter's hand in marriage. But she was far too young for Van to accept. Ladavesta's true intention was to secure the lake as their new home. Until now, they had lived in fear of armored lizards. But when they heard that a small village lord had slain them, they came seeking his protection. Van understood that these people simply want a home, and he could relate since he himself had been casted out. So he accepted them as new citizens and even built a resting area for them. After that, Ladavesta wished to be useful and took responsibility for opening the water gates that cleaned the sewage canals in the village. Although Van declined the marriage proposal because it was a win-win situation already, Ladavesta and Lada Priora still accepted Van as family and refused to take no for an answer. This shocked Arte deeply, so Van took her foreboding to explain everything. But Lada Priora found them there, and things quickly goes downhill. She overheard Van saying he had no intention of marrying her, which broke her heart. So she ran off in tears, and later her father confronted Van. He proposed a friendly competition to decide the marriage outcome. Dee stepped forward to fight on Van's behalf, and Panamila joined as well, because she wanted Arte to become Van's wife. The first event was water volleyball, where Till and Panamila participated. Panamila managed well due to her combat skills, but Till kept making mistakes. So Panamila then boosted her morale to an extreme level, which allowed them to put up a fierce fight. Yet they still lost. The second round was tag team swimming, and naturally there was no comparison with the merfolk in water. However, when Kamseen tagged in with Dee, he demonstrated how sheer brute strength could break through obstacles and secure victory. The score became 1-1. For the final round, Van chose an eating competition, and to increase the difficulty, he chose shaved ice. Arte joined him while the father and daughter competed on the other side. Eating ice rapidly caused intense brain freeze. Yet Arte pushed herself to protect her future husband. The contest was neck to neck, keeping everyone anxious. In the end, Van and Arte claimed victory. This impressed Ladavesta, so he still refused to concede, making the whole competition just pointless. Nevertheless, it was an enjoyable time. Arte witnessed how closely connected and joyful these people were. Unlike her own experience where she was abandoned after her family discovered her puppeteer skill. Since arriving here, she received warmth and kindness without conditions, which made her fall in love with both the place and Van, now returning to their work. Van completed the village defenses by constructing star-shaped walls. He also created a larger iron ballista equipped with 2 bolts to increase firepower and reduce reload time. This amazed Panamila, who immediately asked to purchase one, but Van cleverly refused, stating it was restricted. Panamila then offered him a favor, and only after securing that promise did Van agree. But then Kamseen suggested her to buy additional bolts since they were crafted from the same material as his sword. Panamila doubted their effectiveness until Kamseen sliced through her blade like butter to demonstrate the superior quality. It turned into an excellent advertisement for extra profit. But suddenly Ortho and his companion rushed in because an earth dragon was chasing them. The threat was severe, so Panamila instantly took command, assigning roles to everyone. As the dragon entered her attack range, she unleashed a powerful spell, that struck it down. The impact was remarkable, yet only enough to pin it briefly. Van signaled to fire the ballistas, which caused some damage, but the dragon continued advancing at full speed, while Panamila restrained it with her flames. Within moments it reached the outer walls and attempted to push forward. So Espada stepped directly before it to engage. Van feared it was certain death, but Espada skillfully trapped the beast under layers of earth magic. Van then called upon the favor Panamila, owned him, asking her to hold the dragon at the perfect moment for the ballistas to strike effectively. She readily agreed to repay her debt. And suddenly D and his men charged ahead, engaging the dragon in close combat. They held it in position while Espada and Panamila supported them with magic. This created an opening for the ballistas to inflict heavy damage. The dragon was severely wounded, and D delivered the final blow, with a single sword strike ending the intense battle. Because he struck the killing blow, he earned the title of Dragon Slayer. Afterward, Van announced the names of everyone who contributed to honor them. Panamila insisted that Van be recognized as well since he led the strategy, devised the plan, and built the ballistas that made victory possible. She then proposed an alliance. As a Viscountess, she could keep the Count and Marquis under control, which aligned perfectly with what Van and his people desired. Without hesitation, Van accepted her hand in partnership and therefore begins a new friendship. And that is where the video ends. So stay tuned to watch the next part, and until then enjoy some other recaps on KY channel. Till then, take care.